The saxophone wailed through the Cotton Club on a Friday night in 1954. 200 people packed the room. Waiters moved between tables carrying champagne and bourbon. Duke Ellington's band played on the stage. Smoke hung in the air like fog. At a corner table near the back, 5 men sat in a business meeting that looked like a friendly card game. Bumpy Johnson, Willie Jackson, and across from them, 3 Italian mobsters. Tony Big Mouth Rizzo, his lieutenant, Salvatore Sally Bones Marchetti, and a third man who hadn't said a word all night. They were negotiating territory, specifically the numbers racket in East Harlem. The Genovese family wanted in. Bumpy was explaining why that wasn't going to happen. East Harlem is 90% black and Puerto Rican, Bumpy said calmly. Your people collect, my people don't pay. Creates problems, better if we keep it simple. You stay east of 3rd Avenue. I stay west. Everybody eats. Tony Rizzo leaned back in his chair. He was 42 years old, 6 feet tall, 230 pounds of muscle and arrogance. Made soldier in the Genovese family 3 years ago. Thought his button made him untouchable. Your people, Tony said, smiling. You mean the coloreds? Bumpy's expression didn't change. I mean the community I represent. Community? Tony laughed, looked at Sally Bones. You hear that? Community. Like they got city council meetings or something. Sally didn't laugh. He'd been around longer than Tony. Knew who Bumpy Johnson was. Knew this wasn't a man you disrespected. Tony, Sally said quietly, maybe you should shut up and let me negotiate. Tony turned back to Bumpy. Here's the deal. We want East Harlem, all of it. 3rd Avenue to the river. You can keep your little policy banks west of there. We're being generous. That's not generous, that's greedy. Call it what you want. We got the muscle, we got the connections. We got the city in our pocket. What you got? Respect? Bumpy said simply. Tony laughed again, louder this time. People at nearby tables glanced over. Respect? From who? A bunch of... Sally Bones grabbed Tony's arm. Hard. Don't. But Tony was drunk. Not falling down drunk, just drunk enough to think he was invincible. Drunk enough to forget that some words can't be taken back. He shook off Sally's hand. From who? A bunch of The room went silent. Not gradually. Instantly. Like someone had pulled a plug. The saxophone cut off mid-note. Conversation stopped mid-sentence. Waiters froze with trays in the air. 200 people held their breath. Tony Rizzo had just said the word that could get you killed in Harlem. In front of 200 witnesses. In Bumpy Johnson's club. Willie Jackson's hand moved toward his waistband. Sally Bones went pale. The 3rd Italian stood up, ready to bolt. Bumpy didn't move. Didn't flinch. Didn't react at all. He just looked at Tony Rizzo with those cold, calculating eyes that had seen 30 years of war and survived everyone. The silence stretched. 5 seconds. 10. 15. Finally, Bumpy stood up. Slowly, like he had all the time in the world. He adjusted his jacket, straightened his tie, looked Tony Rizzo directly in the eyes, and said 6 words. You just ended your own career. His voice was quiet, calm, matter of fact, like he was commenting on the weather. Then he turned. Willie stood with him. They walked through the silent room toward the exit. 200 people watching. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Bumpy pushed open the door and disappeared into the Harlem night. Behind him, the Cotton Club remained frozen for another 10 seconds. Then Tony Rizzo laughed, nervous, loud, trying to break the tension. That's it? That's his big threat? You ended your career? Empty words. Old man's bluffing. Sally Bones wasn't laughing. Boss, we should go, now. Why? What's he gonna do? He ain't got an army, he don't need an army. You just disrespected him in front of 200 people in his own club. You called him that word. In Harlem. Do you understand what you just did? I said what needed to be said. These people need to remember their place. Sally stood up. We're leaving. Right now. They left. The band started playing again. Slowly, tentatively, conversations resumed. But everyone knew what had happened. Everyone knew what was coming. Saturday morning, 10 a.m. Tony Rizzo woke up in his apartment in Little Italy, hangover pounding his skull. Vague memory of the Cotton Club, something about a negotiation. He got dressed, headed to his usual barber on Mulberry Street. The barber looked at him, looked away. Sorry, Tony, can't cut your hair today. What? Why not? Just can't. Try somewhere else. Tony walked to another barber shop. Same response. Then another. Same thing. By noon, he'd tried 5 barbershops. All refused service. He went to lunch at his favorite restaurant. The owner met him at the door. We're closed for a private event. Closed? The place is empty. Private event. Come back next week. Next week, not tomorrow. Next week. Tony walked to McGinty's bar where he drank every Friday. The bartender saw him coming, locked the door. Tony pounded on the glass. Sean, open up. The bartender shook his head, mouthed the words, can't serve you. That's when Tony understood. Bumpy Johnson had made a phone call. Or maybe he hadn't needed to. Maybe the word had spread on its own. 200 witnesses, everyone talking, everyone knowing what Tony had said. And now nobody in Harlem would do business with him. No barber, no restaurant, no bar, nothing. Saturday afternoon, 3:00 p.m. Tony's phone rang. Tony, this is Carmine. You need to come to the social club. Now. Carmine Bellino. Capo in the Genovese family. Tony's direct superior. Tony drove to the social club on Mulberry Street, his stomach tight. Walked inside, 4 men waiting, Carmine, 2 other capos, and Gennaro Jerry Catena, underboss of the entire Genovese family. Jerry Catena was 60 years old, thin, quiet, terrifying. He'd killed 12 men personally, ordered the deaths of 40 more. When Jerry Catena summoned you, you showed up, and you prayed. Sit down. Tony. Tony sat. Tell me what happened last night at the Cotton Club. Nothing happened. Just a negotiation. Bumpy Johnson got mad because... Don't lie to me. Jerry's voice was ice. I got 6 phone calls this morning. 6 different people, all telling me the same story. You used a word you should never use, especially not in Bumpy Johnson's club. It ain't that serious. He's bluffing. He ain't gonna... He already did. Jerry leaned forward. You can't get served anywhere in Harlem. You notice that? That's Bumpy sending a message. Not to you. To us. He's saying, your man disrespected me. Handle it, or I will. So what? We're the Genovese family. We don't take orders from... The slap came so fast, Tony didn't see it. Jerry's hand connected with his face like a whip. Tony's head snapped sideways. You stupid or you got a death wish. Bumpy Johnson is our ally. We got a peace treaty with him. Been in place for 15 years. You know why we got peace? Because Bumpy controls Harlem. And Harlem is profitable because it's peaceful. You just threatened that peace. I didn't threaten nothing. I just said... You said a word that could start a war. You know how many soldiers we'd lose trying to take Harlem by force? How much money we'd lose? How many cops would come down on us because of the violence? Tony said nothing. Bumpy Johnson gave us a gift last night. He walked away, didn't kill you on the spot, didn't start a war. Just said 6 words and left. You know what those 6 words meant? They didn't mean nothing. They meant, handle your man or I will. And if we don't handle you, if we let this slide, Bumpy's gonna handle you himself. And then we got a war we don't want, a war we can't afford, all because you couldn't keep your mouth shut. Jerry stood up. You're done, Tony, stripped. You're not a made man anymore. You're an associate. Bottom of the ladder. You work collections in Staten Island. You don't come to Manhattan. You don't go to Harlem. You don't speak to Bumpy Johnson. You don't even say his name. Understood? Tony's face went white. You can't do that. I earned my button. You lost your button when you disrespected our ally. Be grateful I'm not doing worse. Get out. Tony stood. Legs shaking. This ain't over. Yeah, Jerry said quietly. It is. Sunday, 2:00 p.m. Tony tried to go back to the Cotton Club, needed to fix this, needed to apologize, needed to make this right. The doorman stopped him at the entrance. Can't come in, Tony. I need to talk to Bumpy. Boss says you're not welcome, ever. You step through this door, we got a problem. Tell him I'm sorry. Tell him I didn't mean. He knows what you meant, now leave. Tony left, drove back to Little Italy, sat in his apartment, alone. His phone didn't ring. His friends didn't call. The respect he'd spent 20 years building, gone in one word. Monday, 10:00 a.m., Cotton Club, same corner table. But this time the meeting was different. Bumpy Johnson, Willie Jackson, and sitting across from them, Vincent Vinny Black Romano, new representative from the Genovese family, sent specifically to replace Tony Rizzo. Vinny was 52 years old school, respectful. Mr. Johnson, first I want to apologize on behalf of my family. Tony Rizzo was out of line. What he said was unacceptable. He's been dealt with. Bumpy nodded, said nothing. Second, I want to assure you the Genovese family values our relationship with you. We have no interest in East Harlem. 3rd Avenue is the boundary. We respect that. Glad to hear it. And third, Vinny reached into his jacket, pulled out an envelope, set it on the table. This is from Jerry Katina. Call it a gesture of goodwill. Bumpy opened the envelope. $5,000. What's this for? Respect, you showed restraint Friday night. You could have started a war. You didn't. That's worth something. Bumpy pushed the envelope back across the table. Keep your money. I don't need payment for doing what's right, but I appreciate the gesture. Vinny smiled. You're a rare man, Mr. Johnson. I'm a businessman, and business works better when everyone respects the rules. They shook hands. The meeting ended. Vinny left. Willie looked at Bumpy. You really turned down $5,000? Money ain't respect. Tony Rizzo learned that the hard way. You think he learned? Don't matter. He's done. Genovese stripped him. He's working collections in Staten Island now. Might as well be Exile. All because of 6 words. Bumpy smiled. Sometimes 6 words are all you need. The story of what happened at the Cotton Club spread through New York's underworld like wildfire. Not just in Harlem, everywhere. Brooklyn, Queens, Bronx, New Jersey. Tony Rizzo became a cautionary tale. The man who said one word too many. The man who thought his button made him untouchable. The man who learned that in Harlem, respect matters more than rank. He worked collections in Staten Island for 3 years, quit the life in 1957, opened a restaurant in New Jersey, died in 1973. Nobody from the Genovese family went to his funeral. Meanwhile, the relationship between Bumpy Johnson and the Genovese family grew stronger. The boundary at 3rd Avenue held for another 15 years. No conflicts, no wars, just business. All because Bumpy understood something Tony Rizzo never did. Power doesn't come from the words you use to put people down. It comes from the words you use to lift yourself up. 6 words, delivered with calm, with certainty, with absolute control. You just ended your own career. Not a threat, a prophecy. And every person in that room understood. The bartender, the waiters, the band, the 200 witnesses. They understood that Bumpy Johnson didn't need to raise his voice, didn't need to threaten violence, didn't need to prove anything. He just needed to speak truth and let the system do the rest. Because in Harlem, disrespecting Bumpy Johnson wasn't just an insult. It was a career-ending mistake. And Tony Rizzo found that out the hard way. The Cotton Club returned to business as usual. The band played, people danced, drinks flowed. But for years afterward, when someone got too drunk, too loud, too disrespectful, the bartender would lean over and whisper a reminder. Remember Tony Rizzo. One word cost him everything. Don't be like Tony Rizzo. And the drunk would sober up real quick, because in Harlem, words had power. And nobody wielded that power better than Bumpy Johnson. 6 words, 1 prophecy, 1 destroyed career. That's all it took. If this story showed you that real power doesn't need violence, It needs precision. Subscribe for more untold stories of Bumpy Johnson's strategic brilliance. Drop a like if you understand that respect is earned through restraint, not rage. Share this with someone who knows that 6 words can change everything. What would you have said in Bumpy's position? Let me know in the comments.